Well, if the value of Ethereum keeps on going up because there's a deflationary spiral going on because of 1559, now all of a sudden, where's the equilibrium?
In today's video, billionaire businessman and investor Mark Cuban talks about Bitcoin, Ethereum merge, Polygon, Cardano, and many more. He also shares his altcoin investments and warns investors about the crypto market. Before we listen to him, please ensure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let's dive into his last interview.
What are your thoughts on the merge?
It's interesting. Obviously, it's great to go proof of stake and proof of work, right? For all the environmental reasons. Then with 1559, you're going to potentially have deflation, right? So that brings up an interesting corollary. Inflation versus utilization. Because as utilization goes up and the value of a token goes up, then the cost to do something goes up. And so you have these two competing interests. Hey, I want to create an app that generates 1 million NFTs a day, right? Just picking something out of left field, right? I'm not saying there is one. Well, if the value of Ethereum keeps on going up because there's a deflationary spiral going on because of 1559, now all of a sudden, where's the equilibrium? And then there's the question of all the stakers with staking ETH, right? With, now it's staged on when they can get out, but will they? And how quickly? And what happens to the staked ETH, along that period of time, and what does that do for the pricing? So there's a lot of uncertainty, and you're seeing a lot of people speculating by buying call options, right? The option rate versus Bitcoin is through the roof. So it remains to be seen, but it's hard. It's going to be really hard to determine, right? And so, and I don't. Maybe you guys know the answer. Will gas calculations change? Under proof of stake, right, versus what they were under proof of work to even out, so that I have some level of consistency in what my expectations are for being an NFT business or whatever business, DeFi, whatever it may be that I'm trying to do. Do you guys know what happens to gas fees at that point in time, or is it still pretty much the same formula? Yeah, because you see what I'm saying, right? If all of a sudden the price goes through the roof, like you saw that before, when you talk about high gas fees, it's a function of the price of Ethereum. It comes down again, where Ethereum really becomes valuable again is when the applications are there. Because if you think about it, there's no deflation if there's no applications use. Because 1559, it requires applications, and just buying Ethereum from somebody doesn't generate any of that.
What are your thoughts on Cardano?
My thoughts on Cardano are the exact same as they are on Polygon and Ethereum. There's got to be a there, right? And you can go to Coinmetrics, you can go to all these different places and look for transactions. And I guess the people in Africa are not using it as much as they expected to, because you don't see the transactions, you don't see the fees, and the crypto, I use cryptofees.info a lot, right? Just to get a sense of what's going on. It's just quick and easy. But I look at number of transactions, and to me, that's the bellwether of success. And, now they can be distorted, and you've got to smooth it out because somebody comes in.
Is there another low cap altcoin that's just on your radar that you find value in?
I'm a fan of Klima DAO, right? Which used to be high cap. Now it's about a $30 million market cap. One of the applications that I think will work, or I hope will work, and I'll take a step back to explain why. Like a couple years ago, I went and bought some carbon offsets because I wanted to offset my personal and corporate carbon footprint. And it's a pain in the ass to go and do that, right? You have to go through a broker. You don't know what's real or not real. There is no real blockchain type scenario to verify everything that's easy. And then Klima came along, and I invested purely because I think it's easier right now as we speak to buy a Klima token, an MCO token, a BCT token, and burn it and take the treasury back out, and take that as an offset, right? And they make it easy to do. Now you can look at it as an investment, and there's upside to it if this happens a lot. But the worst case, which is the way I also try to look at things, is worst case is I just burn them, and based off their treasury that I've burned, I've offset X amount of tons of carbon. And to me, that's a win no matter how you look at it. And so they're still early in the game. They've made some missteps, but I think that they've really gotten their act together. Like Polygon came in and bought a bunch, and as a result, offset their footprint for their proof of stake network. And I think more and more companies will do that. And so that's a low market cap one that I like. I own Klima, I own Ape, I own some BLT, Blockdo, because it's wallets for flow, injective, Aletha, which is the integrating artificial intelligence to NFTs. So that's probably the other one. And I like Ocean as well. And so, the Aletha, if you can start integrating AI into NFTs and are able to create some virtual humans, if you will, that have different properties, and that expands, and you can have some fun with that and unique applications. And then Ocean, for packaging data and buying and reselling it, so that there's ongoing rewards to the people who originate the data. They haven't really executed as well as I would have liked, but that's the concept.
What's been your most successful crypto investment? And then what's one that you heard about, but you didn't invest and you missed out on?
ETH has been my most successful by far, with Bitcoin right behind. I did really well with Helium, but I sold right at the top. I got lucky, and in terms of one I missed out on, none that I really wish, because I got in early enough that a lot of them were really cheap. I could take flyers, buying Polygon at under a penny, those types of things. So there hasn't really been one that I truly missed out. Now I've timed some of them wrong. I lightened up on a bunch of stuff and on Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I lightened up, and some I got out really well, and some I sold lower than where it is now, but that's okay.
Expose the cryptocurrency market. What don't average people know that you know as a multi-decade investor?
The token side is all noise. The price of tokens are noise. That has nothing to do with the foundational value of crypto. Put aside Bitcoin. Bitcoin's store of value, right? You can argue about Lightning and all this stuff, the maxis argue, but it's not really an extensible platform. It's not extensible enough to build applications on yet, which is a whole nother question. If you can, if you're willing to change it, that creates all kinds of other questions about Bitcoin and what the maxis think. But I think what really comes to play for me is the idea of distributed applications driven by smart contracts. So I mentioned being able to use, to create carbon offsets. So the question, somebody like Bill would come back and say is, well, why do I need tokens? Why does that matter, right? Why don't I just create something that's easy to buy, a certificate? Well, the difference is the standards that are in place, so that royalties or storage or exploring, those things aren't necessarily available through traditional database applications. I mean, I spent 8 years, my first company, that's all I wrote was, distributed database applications. And so I think there's a huge advantage there. I think DAOs also have a unique opportunity, not so much because everybody gets to vote, but more because it forces organizations to structure themselves differently. An organization that is vertical is always going to have a hard time overcoming its hierarchy. Whereas a DAO is vertical at some levels, but it's still smushed vertical. So that the people who start the DAO control everything, no matter how much you want to lie to yourself about how open-ended it is, right? But at the same time, as it starts to evolve and new things come in, there's a voice to the token holders that isn't available in a traditional organization. And then I think there's different ways to use crypto in applications that the distribution can play a major part.